About the love of God today. John was a disciple with Jesus for 3.5 years, and then he was a long-living disciple, and he wrote a book, and at the very end of it, he ended with this statement. He said, "And there are also many other things that Jesus did, which if they were written one by one, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that would be written." So that is mentioned in this song. It reflects back on the time of Adam and Eve when they sinned, and how God's love reached down to them and pardoned them. And then the last verse talks about a time when this song was written, possibly in 1917 was the copyright date. How many of you remember the old, and you have to be older to remember this, but you remember the old inkwells and the pens you had to dip? When I started first grade, I sat at a desk that had one of those holes in it, so that shows how old it is. But you had an ink bottle there, and my sisters actually used one of these. But in the old days, before they invented the new kind of pens that you could write with, they used quill pens, which were bird feathers, and they'd sharpen the end and dip them in a bottle of ink, and then they'd write on parchment. So this song talks about that process. It said, "Could we with ink the ocean fill, and were the skies of parchment made, were every stalk on earth a quill, and every man a scribe by trade." You remember the scribes that the Bible talks about? They were the ones who wrote down things. "To write the love of God above would drain the ocean dry, nor could the scroll contain the whole, though stretched from sky to sky." God is greater far than tongue or pen can ever tell. It goes beyond the highest star and reaches to the lowest hell. The guilty pair bowed down with care. God gave his Son to win. His erring child he reconciled and pardoned from his sin. When hoary time shall pass away and earthly thrones and kingdoms fall, when men who hear refuse to pray, on rocks and hills and mountains call, God's love so sure shall still endure, all measureless and strong, redeeming grace to Adam's race, the saints and angels' song. Ocean fill, and were the skies of parchment made, were every stalk on earth a quill, and every man a scribe by trade, to write the love of God above would drain the ocean dry, nor could the scroll contain the whole, though stretched from sky to sky. O love of God, how rich and pure, how measureless and strong, it shall forevermore endure, the saints' and angels' song. O love of God, how rich and pure, how measureless and strong, it shall forevermore endure, the saints' and angels' song.